This week on the podcast, although my leg isn't 100% healed, I still head out on the road and I wrestle 2 matches. I do some commentary and I talk to some of the wrestlers about dealing with injuries. Enjoy it.
This is the Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana.
All right, how you guys doing? Come on in, sit down, relax. You're about to listen to the Art of Wrestling, a professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's a personal journal. It's an entryway to the minds and souls, the hearts and lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I am your host. My name is Colt Cabana. I'm a walker. I'm a slight jogger, not necessarily a runner. I'm a commentator, and I might even be a video game personality. Most importantly, though, I am a professional wrestler, and I am coming to you live from my studio apartment in Chicago, Illinois. Before I go any further, this is a fan-supported and listener-supported podcast supported by people just like you. We give it to you free of charge every single Thursday. ColtCabana.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts from. Couple great ways to support. Rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Tell a friend. Tweet it out. Best way to support, though, ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, t-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters, DVDs, also those new Lapel Yeah pins. And if you like those pins, you can head on over to LapelYeah.com. When you check out, use the code COLT. They'll give you 10% off of any of their merchandise or custom pins that you want made. But these new ones, they're only available ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com. Well, I'm back at it again. I almost didn't know how to get to the airport and fly on an airplane and do all that stuff that I'm so used to doing that I didn't do for the last month. Thankfully, my leg, she's a-working. And yes, my leg is a woman. Why would my leg not be a woman? I talked to some wrestlers mainly about injuries. I was on the road. I had 3 shows. And there is actually no sponsors for this podcast this week, but kind of a sponsor, almost an announcement. I have officially signed on to be a part of Retromania Wrestling, which is an arcade-style video game that will be coming out in the first quarter of 2020, which is right around the corner. Maybe you've seen them online at Retrosoft Studio. They've shown some of the video game renders of Blue Meanie, Tommy Dreamer, Road Warrior Animal, Zack Sabre signed on. And to celebrate, at Retrosoft Studio on Twitter is doing a giveaway. Just follow both of us on Twitter, and 3 people will win a t-shirt of mine and also a signed book of mine, courtesy of Pro Wrestling Tees. Everybody is working together. RetromaniaWrestling.com is where you can kind of see all the drawings and all the information. That's going to be cool. My first video game. And not create a player. It's me. I'm going to be in it. You should see the drawing. It's super cool. I'm excited about it. Hopefully you are. And luckily I could still be in the game because I could still wrestle and I'm still moving. This week were 2 Ring of Honor shows. I did commentary for one, the pay-per-view, and commentary for another one, the TV. And I also wrestled James Storm. I don't know why I wrestled James Storm. I won't give any spoilers, but the national championship was on the line. I could barely move and or walk, but I still got in there. So it was a busy weekend for Ring of Honor, and while I was there, I wanted to talk to the injured. That included TK O'Ryan. And if you don't remember TK O'Ryan, I believe it was at the 15th anniversary show in Las Vegas, Nevada. The only reason I remember that was my commentating debut. And he did an Asai moonsault, and his shin hit the guardrail in one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen as a wrestler. And in this talk, he says he was back after 6 weeks, which is mind-blowing after what I saw, what happened to him, and also knowing that, the only thing that happened to me was, my quad got hit very hard. Someone hit my quad hard. I was out 3.5 weeks. This guy cracked his whole leg in half, and he was only out double. All right, here's myself and TK O'Ryan.
I made a flight. Well, obviously, this is my first week back. And I say that, it's kind of sad that I say that because I only took off 3 weeks compared to what you dealt with.
Well, no, here's the thing, though. My injury was, even though it was a little gruesome looking, wasn't really all that bad. It was broken bones. And they weren't like joints or anything like that. It was just 2 long leg bones. So basically they glued them back together, and I could walk the day after my surgery.
They glued them? You don't put pins? How do you glue a leg?
No, I actually have a rod from my knee to my ankle. It's however long, what's that, 16 inches or so.
And you could walk the next day.
Yeah, not well. And the only problem was the weight bearing. And the stability was obviously rotten, and I could feel my leg like doing a little like, you know, if you could picture, like, I know it's a podcast, but I'm like rubbing my fists together. That's what it felt like my leg was doing. And
but you took off more than 3 weeks.
No, dude, I was back. Well, 6. I was back in ring wrestling in Ring of Honor in 6 weeks. But
really?
I was wrestling on the Indies, and please don't listen to this Ring of Honor, as like with a mask to kind of like get myself like back into ring shape.
What was your mask's name?
Evil Tito. From Mexico. And true story, dude, like not related to that, but as part of my like rehab tour, if you will, as Evil Tito, I wrestled Jerry the King Lawler in a 30-minute like absolute Broadway main event in like I want to say North Carolina or something. It was the most insane match of my life. Real thing that happened. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I could barely walk, and neither could he, so it worked out perfect.
I wish I could go there. I wish this week, as I'm going to wrestle and tag with Hornswoggle, that I don't have to be Colt Cabana. I could be Happy Cito.
Well, you got a couple options, right? You could be Matt Classic, could be a potential option for you. Maybe give him a call, you know?
Right. I don't know if I'm allowed to borrow his gear.
Oh no. Well, here's the thing. So like you talk about like just like the rehab of it and all like the flying around and everything. Like really the weirdest part for me was the stability. It took ages for that to come back. Like the weight bearing was like literally day of surgery. I was able to. There's actually a video of me walking down the hallway right out of surgery because they wanted to see if like it would if I could handle it. And they told me like you can walk on that as much as you can handle it, and as soon as you feel like you don't need the boot anymore, start walking without the boot because it's not a joint. You don't need to worry about like the little like, you know, your knee coming back to life or anything like that.
Yeah, but what I was scared about this week was getting on the plane and flying because of the blood clots. And I think you overheard, or you were in the conversation,
Yep.
but I didn't even realize that was a thing for you too. And you said, I got one more joke about Candido.
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
But you're joking about it, and I'm not joking about it, because that's all I could think about flying.
Well, here's the thing. Now, we're talking with 2 years of perspective here, right? I mean, if he doesn't, but you know, 2 years ago, that shit wasn't very funny to me. You know, and as I'm sitting in this hospital watching my life unravel before my eyes, like thinking like, well, this is over. Like, there's no way I'm coming back from this. And all people want to say is, oh, be careful, don't Chris Candido yourself. And on top, like, for starters, that's not funny. Like, that's a real death. Like, that man had family and things. Like, that's not funny. And second of all, like, that really could have happened. So that could have happened to me. And I never want to play the like, oh, I should have been there, that could have been me kind of bullshit. But like, I mean, that was a real thing. And like, I felt like at the time, like if I was somebody else, I might have gotten some more sympathetic tweets. But instead, because I'm me, I was getting a lot of like, kind of hope you get a blood clot, motherfucker. And I was like, I actually went and I tweeted about it. I was like, the next person that says this to me, I'm blocking you forever. Like, forget wrestling, forget anything. Like, this is life. And like, the next person that says to me, I'm done with you forever. And then I kind of disappeared overnight, I guess.
You broke your leg though, but you flew the next day, and that's the riskiest. I waited 3 weeks and I was still scared, but you did it the next day.
Next day.
That's when? Well, that's when it could be bad, right?
Well, yeah. Well, okay. So the thing was the Sunrise Hospital in Vegas. Like, I was convinced they were gonna kill me. Like, I was like, if I do this leg surgery here, they're gonna put my shit on backwards. Like, I'll have two right legs somehow. Like, I was so uncomfortable with that hospital, the way I was treated when I went in there. Like, that's a whole nother thing. Like, that's a feature-length discussion. But like, so I had myself signed out of the hospital with a broken leg. They literally, the craziest thing is all they did was put me in like a cardboard splint. They reset my leg, which actually felt nice. So it was like in place again.
So your leg is set. So that means all the blood is rushing all over the place.
Now the swelling is unbelievable.
And you're getting on that plane.
They had to give me an injection in my stomach, like right below my belly button. I can't remember what it was, like Lobox or something. I don't remember the medication, but it's basically an anti-clot. Thins out your blood.
Something that probably cost $12,000.
Yeah, I didn't pay a nickel for any of this experience, I'll tell you that, because as it turns out, they didn't really treat me very well at that hospital, and looking at it now, I probably could have got like a real lot of money out of them, but what they did do was say, you know what, just never mind that ambulance ride and all that.
Really?
Yeah, they covered it because it was so bad. Like Taven's, I guess that was fiance is a nurse, and
right, I remember she was there.
And she was there, and she was like appalled. And she doesn't work in an ER or anything. She works as like a chemo outpatient center kind of thing. So it's a different environment. But she's looking at what's going on. Like, this isn't how you handle. Like, this. No one asked this guy how high he fell from. You just know that he fell and broke his leg. You're all watching the video. He fell from over 15 feet. Why is no one scanning his brain? Why is no one checking checking this? Why is no one checking that? Like, he could have a concussion, he could have a brain bleed. There's a million things could be wrong. No one's worrying about it. And all you're doing is they literally had me in a waiting room for 3.5 hours before I ever even saw a doctor. That's with a leg like sideways. It's insane, right? So she wrote them a pretty awful letter from what I understand. It was like, just so you know, like, this was an absolute disgrace. I got a letter from like the CEO of Sunrise Hospital maybe a week later that essentially was just like, yeah, we'll just cover everything. Please don't sue us for the building. Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that to the ER I went to.
Yeah, well, if they treated you all right, you might not.
I mean, they did, but they took all my money.
Well, you know, these guys did a little bit of the opposite.
So you got a blood clot injection.
Yeah, it's like this weird. And then then I flew across the country, basically like, turns out like certain things aren't super hard to get at wrestling shows. So like I was terrified about flying across the country. Like I was having panic attacks. I mean, again, like there's something like traumatic about like the leg breaking and like just like all the hustle and crazy shit that went with it. So like I'm like in another world mentally and like I'm losing my mind, like freaking out. And as it turns out, like, you know, drugs aren't like incredibly hard to find in Vegas, and never mind around certain types of entertainment, right? So you know, somebody basically said to me, like, hey, man, take this now, 2 of these later, 1 of these when you get to the plane, and you'll wake up with a free leg. And I was like, okay. So I, 1, 2, 3, woke up in Boston however many hours later, and I was in a cast, and I was like, oh, look at this. My leg's been fixed.
So it was a safe flight for you then?
For me. And apparently I sat next to a kid who was at the Vegas show on the flight home. And he tried to talk to me, and I apparently was all about the conversation because I'm so high on drugs.
Well, you're a very talkative man.
I'm talkative. It doesn't take a lot to get me going. You were like, hey, man, I got to talk to you. He's like, sure, what's up?
I was like, can you give me 1 minute of your time? Here we are. Like,
yeah, sure. However much you need, dude. No, but like, so apparently I start talking to this kid, and then just like mid-sentence, like my head fell on his shoulder, and apparently the kid was like super polite about it. Vinny was sitting like in the aisle next to me or whatever, and he was like, hey, man, you need me to move him? He was like, nah, he's good. Just let him sleep this off. A tough night.
A good story to tell. Well, I'm glad you made it, and I'm glad I made it.
Yeah, man, we're better men for it, too.
Amen.
Oh, yeah, I guess I should talk about getting on the plane. I got on the plane. I had compression socks. I also had that sports tape to wrap up my leg. I also had a compression sleeve to put over the knee. I had an ace bandage to put over the knee. And I had another compression sleeve that I made up with my sewing machine over here in Chicago. So even with all that, I was still freaking out. But obviously I had made it to the show, and I didn't pass away on the plane, which we joke about, like he said. But I was serious. I was scared, very scared. While I'm there, everybody's asking me how I'm doing because it's been a while since we had a Ring of Honor show. So they've only read on the internet or whatever, and then this is the first time seeing everybody, so I'm explaining the story to everybody. One of the people I explain it to is Mark Haskins, and then he starts telling me about his own war stories. So I record Mark and I talking about his injury. And here's, I guess, a reoccurring theme is that, like, it's everybody. It's everybody. I'm just the only one with the podcast complaining about it. But we're all injured different times. It's ridiculous, just ridiculous. And this is Mark's story behind his calf.
Is this a physio report with Mark Haskins?
Well, it's just I'm being a baby and centering the world around me, how I'm the only one gets hurt and losing money, and then I'm realizing everybody else also gets hurt, but just doesn't cry about it as much as I do.
I don't know, like...
Were you crying about it?
I wasn't crying, but I was definitely moaning, like, and fucking...
To the wrestling world and trying to get sympathy about it?
No, just more to myself, where I was like, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Things always happen at, like, the worst times, right? So it's like, hey, fresh to the company. Here's an injury. Good times.
So what'd you do?
So I had a partial calf tear. It happened during a match with Marty Skrull, so I'm blaming him 100% wholeheartedly for it. And then like I had to try and somehow get home, and I had like 2 or 3 different flights to get home. So like I think I got to like Newark Airport and like literally had to hobble my way from one side of the airport to the other. I was like the last person to board my second plane. It was like I had like a 2.5 hour like overlay or whatever, and I just about got there in time. So
now, with the tear, did fluid and stuff all surround it? Did it get swollen?
Yeah, like it got pretty swollen. It got pretty tight, like sort of like around like where like the injury had happened. Like the injury itself, like was like it didn't hurt that much. It was more like the supporting muscles which had become more tender and were compensating for the injury.
Right. And you flew that next day.
Yeah, so I flew home just thinking like, well, if I die, whatever, like lol. So
See,
yeah.
that's the problem. That was my worry this week. Was about blood clots and flying, but you didn't care.
No, my wife was like super worried. She was like, "What happens if you die?" And I'm like, "I'll be fine. Like, I'll find out if I do."
Did you talk to anybody before going on this plane or anything?
No, like
Self-diagnosed.
yeah, I just walked my way on and like got on board, and it was actually like being like immobile, which actually kind of like felt like it hurt it more. Like if I could move on it, like it was okay. Like I ended up wrestling on it just a few weeks later, and like it was fine. But like just being sat around for a few hours, like being sat down, I'd stand up and then I was in agony. But
So how do you unpartial a partial tear? Just rest?
No.
The body connects itself?
No, so what happened was there's a strength coach who works in the gym that I go to, and he'd suffered a partial pectoral tear a few months before, and he was like, the best thing that you can do is like just keep it moving. So he said like use whatever like 60 to 70% of whatever your 1 rep max would be post injury, and then do say like 10 sets of anything anywhere between 8 to 15 reps. Have 30 to 45 seconds rest in between sets, and
Don't let it ungrow.
No, like don't be immobile, because that's when like it gets worse. Do you know what I mean?
When I have these people who give me this advice, I need free advice from people. Actually, a couple people reached out on the podcast. Like a doctor was like, "I'm a doctor. You should do this."
Oh, yeah?
And I was like, "Well, should I do this?" He's like, "No." And then a couple other people. So
Well-
that was after the fact.
Right. Well, everybody's got a different opinion about everything, right? So yeah, I mean, you can only just try things out and trial and error and see how it works. But
You're walking fine now.
I am. I mean, I've got this sweet scar on it, which didn't come from the injury itself, but came from me being an absolute idiot and putting a piping hot water bottle, like without even like a protection on it or anything, just straight rubber onto my leg, thinking like, this will be like hot and cold therapy. This will help it. And like, it was burning my skin at the time. And I was
It
just,
looks
like,
burns.
Yeah, oh, for sure it was. Like, I had a massive blister there, and like me being like suffering from small man syndrome was just like, no, don't be a pussy, like stick it through. And then when I took it away, like I had this massive just like, boil there on my leg. It was like,
That's from wrestlers over the years, just being our own doctors, like thinking we know stuff.
like painkillers and electrical tape will sort this out, right? Like, I think that's what everybody's held together by. So, but I got through it, man. So,
And you didn't die on that flight?
I didn't die, but, I don't want you to try and sue me if you die going home tomorrow. So,
Oh, I might.
I know what you're like with lawsuits, man.
They know me in the court system now. So.
Oh, we laugh because my life is in shambles. Wonderful. That's the sign of good, fun friendship, though, I think, right? I can, if we've learned anything, I can laugh anything off, even though it hurts so much deep down inside. Oh, the pain. But there's nothing I can do, so I move forward the same way I'm doing with this injury, in the same way Japanese wrestling sensation Sumie Sakai also did with her injury. And we talk about it a little bit, but in Madison Square Garden, she got an opportunity of a lifetime, and I believe one of the Stardom wrestlers did a 450 splash and just landed on her face. And, these are things maybe we don't hear about enough, but that's exactly what happened. She texted me later. You'll hear it in a second. The word she could not think of was shattered. Shattered.
Shit.
You're going to talk shit?
Yeah, no. I'm very nice. I'm Japanese.
Who do you talk shit on?
I'm not talking shit. I'm very nice.
The Japanese are known as being nice people?
Yes.
Okay.
Japanese are best.
So this episode is about people being injured. This episode is kindly focused around me thinking I'm the only person in the world because I'm injured, because my quad. But today you also came back from an injury, right?
Yes.
Your face exploded?
Yes, my flatted. Like what's meant?
What did you say before?
Flatted?
Fracted?
I don't know.
Fracture.
Fracture. No fracture.
No?
Flat. Like something like
Flatten?
kind of like make separate, like very bad, like kind of squash.
Separated?
Some I don't know.
Fractured? No?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
F
L.
L. I don't know. Maybe spell it wrong. F L A. Somebody knows.
Somebody.
Knows. I always know.
So,
They have
some doctor who saw the report.
bill.
They have the bill.
So,
So what happened? What happened?
so it was I got a 450. knee landed to my face. So I broke my bone so many times. When like I broken, I could tell this is not just broken, but
What when so you've broken
MSC. It was finished like I got a 450.
at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, then knee landed to my face.
Right, but you just said you've broken your bones so many times.
Yeah, like nose 3 times, thumb, back, leg 3 times, and here like feet 1 time, so many times. So that's why I'm kind of professional.
But you're like, oh, this isn't broken. This is worse than
Oh,
broken.
I could tell this is like normally just broken. It was kind of bad.
Oh, and so today was your first batch back, right?
Yes.
And how did it feel? How are you?
That's good.
Just good.
It's kind of like, adrenaline.
Yeah.
Make kind of excited, not hurt, but still like feel numb to my inside mouth. But it's okay.
Were you scared, like afterwards, to be like, oh, is my face still attached?
I did like since when I was 8 years old, I did judo. So injury is kind of like my friend. I kind of have to be very, good relationship.
Can you rehab your broken face?
I mean, like I just, like doctor said, 4 weeks, don't do anything, not cardio and anything. Yeah. I just don't pick up anything heavier. So I was kind of like, don't listen to the doctor. I went to 2 weeks, I went to a gym. I was kind of running, started like headache so bad. Oh. Here I could tell like boom, boom, boom. Like
vibrations.
Like, oh my soul, like hurt. I said, oh no, I should listen to the doctor.
Did it hurt to smile?
It was, it's funny. Doctor said, don't, blow nose, because it will
Don't
be.
blow your nose.
No. And they said, then I have to be careful pumping. Because
Say that again.
I have to be careful when I will do pumping. Because I will do like, then like it will be hot. But
Girls don't poop.
yeah, I do, but I do it every morning. But it's, but lucky, like me, I always go poop.
Yeah.
I do kind of like, I don't have to. I always just poop is coming up. So that's why.
But and your face is okay when you pooped.
Yeah, because I don't have to like, like something to.
It just slides out.
Yeah. So.
What a talk. Thank you, Sumie.
Thank you.
Okay. Very funny.
Yeah, I would like for this podcast. Yeah, I wanted to ask you.
Nothing like some good old Joshi wrestling poop talk to be on the show. Those were the 2 shows, the conclusion of the 2 shows in Baltimore and Philadelphia. The next day, I was going to wrestle for Alpha One Wrestling. I was going to tag with Hornswoggle. It was going to be a quote-unquote easy match because my quad was hurting, and the promoter knew it, and he just wanted me to be there. That's all. Just show up. He said, if you have to manage, you have to manage, whatever. But I had a little bit of a problem getting to Toronto. My flight was at 6 o'clock. I showed up at 5:10, which shouldn't be a problem. I didn't have any bags, but Air Canada was packed. And then they said to shut the flight down an hour before, which meant I didn't make the cutoff time. And I didn't bother to check in because I'm usually all United, but Air Canada is part of United with Star Alliance, but not on the app, so you can't check in on the app. You get the whole frustration. So I just was going to wait till I got to the airport, and then I was a little bit late, but still I had so much time, but it got cut off, and the lady's like, sorry, nothing I can do. So I was on the phone. Nothing was getting done. She was like, you got to ask somebody at the desk. And then enough time went by where it wasn't that packed. And then I went up to the United desk instead of the Air Canada desk. And this lady named Renee, I always go up there and I'm not a prick about it. I'm very, very calm about it. And, I let them know I have good status, million miler, 1K. Here's what happened. I always tell them I'm a performer and I need to make my show. So it's very important. Otherwise, if I don't get there, then the show won't happen. And so she's trying to help. And then she asks, oh, what do you do, by the way? And I said, I'm a professional wrestler. And she goes, oh, you're a wrestler. Oh, I've helped so many of the wrestlers over the years. Oh, Booker T, he is always late. And I am always getting him and his wife in. And I know Razor Ramon and 1, 2, 3 Kid. And she just starts riling them off. Natty Neidhart, Trish Stratus, she knew them all. She's helped them all. And something went off in her. This sense of pride of knowing that she's going to get wrestlers to their shows. And the only option for me was to get there around 8 p.m., which would have done absolutely nothing for me. The show started at 4. But she worked some voodoo magic, and she was going from an Air Canada computer over to a United, over to an Air Canada, over to a United, back and forth. And finally, she's like, all right, I got you a standby on this one, and then I got you confirmed on this one. I think you'll make the standby. And then she keeps on doing more work, and she goes, got you on a first class, no more standby, you're good to go. And bless Renee's heart, she made it happen. I got to Toronto about 3 o'clock, Zoom over to the show, was on the second half of the show, and I was able to make it, injury and all. Of course, that promoter, Ethan Page, and I thought I would bug him to be on the podcast.
This is the best part about this podcast is everyone thinks they're in trouble with me.
I thought I stiffed you on pay or something. You're like, hey, can I talk to you for a second?
And I'm like, I need you. This episode is about injuries.
Oh.
Me being injured.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in order to talk about me wrestling injured, I have to get to the wrestling show first.
Yes.
Which is your show.
It is my show.
And
you wrestled injured for me because I guilted you about our poor ticket sales. And you were like, all right, I can do this.
yeah, but I was going to talk about the fiasco that happened today, and we could talk about that, and I want you to talk about, you said this happened to you
in April.
In April.
Yeah.
And a little bit of me was like, because I was going through with the person, and I was like, well, all right, if I can go to Toronto, can you send me back to Chicago? And then, like, I was just like, so much of my brain was just like, I feel like, I don't know if it's because I'm friends with you. I don't know if it's me not wanting to like any promoter, but I was, happy to. I don't know if it was that guilt that you gave me, but I don't know, or it's some guilt from somewhere that I really wanted to make sure I made it to the show, even though I can't even really wrestle.
I could tell you wanted to make it because when I got my first text message, it seemed as if though you weren't coming. And then I got your second text message and it seemed more optimistic. And you were like, this lady's been working for 45 minutes. And I was like, okay, Colt's trying his best to come. And like, that's all I asked. Like when in Chicago, 3 guys got stranded. All their connections. It was Hornswoggle, Joey Ryan, and Brian Cage. They all got stranded in Chicago, and guys were stuck there for days that weekend. Not them specifically, but this happened to a bunch of indie shows. I guess some storm happened when like the big ice storm happened in Chicago.
And you're running a show here.
I'm running a show in Canada, and no one's able to land. And everyone that was like a big name that everyone paid to see was on a flight, and they were all stranded. It sucked. I thought it was happening again today.
Because TJ and Jeff and all
text me this morning. Pretty much the same thing you text me. And Cobb was coming from the same place as you. So I was like, well, there goes 2 of the guys. And then when TJ texted me, that's when I started panicking because he's like, I don't think I can get to Canada. I think I can only get to Chicago, ironically. And so.
Well, then I'll ask you, who's come to wrestle for you, who's been like the most hurt but still is wrestling? Does that spark anything?
Oh, Josh Alexander for sure. Just because of his like neck injuries and stuff.
But was there anyone who was just like
from outside?
Yeah.
I would say you're definitely up there for.
No, but I'm not looking for me to say me. That wasn't the point of that.
No. I'm trying to think because I feel like people would 9 times out of 10 just cancel.
They would just cancel, huh?
Yeah.
I'm a maniac then. Huh?
Yeah. Or like. Me and Swoggle were talking about this when we landed in Toronto. He was like, man, isn't Colt hurt? Like, why is he still coming? I'm like, he's crazy. Like, this is his life. And he's like, yeah, it is his life. Like, you dedicated everything to this, so obviously you're going to show up. And we both said that you're probably going crazy in your house.
No, I'm just crazy. It's just crazy. You're very right. It's like I need to be out there and to podcast.
Well, you do it every week, and then now you're not.
This is a long time. Putting on my boots felt weird today.
Really?
Yes. I was like, these don't fit. I think my feet got skinnier.
Oh, they were too loose?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. See, mine would be not fit the other way. I'd just be on the couch eating pizza.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, but maybe I just didn't get enough nutrition to my feet. I don't know. All right.
Actually, I've been pretty good. So I'll go to the gym every day, do my regular muscles, and then go later at night and rehab a little bit. So it forced me to go to the gym twice a day. Still does nothing. I think I still gained 5 pounds. Unbelievable. You can never win. I am looking forward to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where I usually lose a bunch of weight because I'm just running around constantly for a month. So hopefully that's the diet that will do me best. And I will talk about that in my plugs and
upcoming events.
I heard the best way that you can support ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana, Facebook /Colt Cabana. My storytelling podcast, Pro Wrestling Fringe, plus past archives of the show, old and new, are ad-free on Stitcher, Premium.com/Colt. Use the code Colt, get a free month, ColtWrestling@gmail.com. My very public email. Maybe you're a promoter want to put me on your show or convention. I got a YouTube channel. I got a website, ColtCabana.com. That's where you can find my P.O. box. Upcoming Friday, July 5th, Dallas, Texas, ProWrestlingDallas.com. Friday, July 12th, Seattle, Washington, 321battle.com. Friday, July 19th, San Antonio, Texas, RiverCityWrestling.net. Saturday and Sunday, July 20th and 21st, New York and Lowell, Massachusetts, ROHWrestling.com. Sunday, July 28th, Tower, Minnesota, up by Duluth, HeavyOnWrestling.com. And then August 2nd through the 25th, every single night, 11 p.m., Edinburgh, Scotland, thefringe.com for that information. Intro music is by the Ukulele Teacher on YouTube. Outro music by the super fun Rocket Ship. Podcast cover art and design by Jimmy Lee. Photo by James Musselwhite. Thanks to TK Orion, Sumie Sakai, Mark Haskins, and Ethan Page for coming on the show. How about our sponsors, HighSpots.com and the High Spots Network, an amazing VOD service. Brand new $5 wrestlings. We're going to film another one in a couple weeks here. They also got PWGs. You can also get AMA knee pads that I wear, gear, masks, even a wrestling ring. And OneHourTees.com, they help run ProWrestlingTees.com. I got a store, ProWrestlingTees.com/Colt Cabana. All right, I'm back in it. The leg, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. So things are looking up. And I will talk to you next week when I attempt to wrestle in Dallas, Texas. All right, this has been The Art of Wrestling for Colt Cabana. I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks.